Located in the hilltops of Whitby is a 13th century monument, a ruin that at one point was a focal point for science, arts and religious debate. Its name is Whitby Abbey, and in 1897 a young Irish writer came to these parts and took inspiration from this place to create what is now classic English literature. The name of the book? Dracula. The author? Bram Stoker. Bram Stoker was born in Dublin in 1847 before his move to London later in life. Stoker was already a successful theatre stage manager and had experience of 19th century England. But what would have Stoker seen on his trip to Whitby? I went to the Sutcliffe gallery where the acclaimed photographer who was capturing the period of time in Whitby. What would Bram Stoker have seen coming into 19th century Whitby?
A lot of mist, a lot of smoke, a lot of atmosphere. Like Frank Sutcliffe's photographs portray a sort of ethereal sort of quality to, especially winter time in Whitby, which is when Frank Sutcliffe had the opportunity to take the photographs that he's famous for.
Mike Shaw agreed to show some of Francis Sutcliffe's photographs.
Yes, you can just imagine Bram Stoker being inspired by a scene like this, where all the open fires creating the smoke mixing with the mist created a lovely atmospheric smog. We talk about pollution nowadays, but it had its own in this period, in the 1880s. This is from the graveyard that quite a lot of Dracula was probably set in.
So we can see the photograph here of the original ship crash in Whitby.
That's right, I think this was in 1885, the Dmitri of Varna, the Russian schooner that was shipwrecked off Whitby. Later on, a few years later, Bram Stoker must have seen this photograph of Frank Sutcliffe's, and it sort of forms quite a major part of the story of Dracula, I think, where a dog leaps off the boat and runs up into the graveyard and becomes Dracula.
Was here on this shore with the smell of sea air that you could just imagine how it felt in the novel Dracula. The boat ran ashore in a vicious storm, all the crew members missing, apart from the captain who was strapped to the helm and left with nothing but his crucifix. Dracula's image has changed over time, from the gothic horror novel villain to a modern mythical legend. It's now estimated that there are 217 feature films that Dracula plays the main role in. As many times as he has been reincarnated on the big screen, is his name still synonymous with Whitby? Does his shadow still linger over this town?
Welcome to my home.
My name's Paul Upton, and I'm the manager of the Dracula Experience in Whitby. Dracula, done for Whitby tourism, has done a lot. It's made the town busier, especially since the Goth weekend started, which started like about 15 years ago. Dracula Experience is a walk-through exhibition with live actors, which tells a brief description of the Dracula story and the connection with Whitby.
The Dracula Experience is a unique tour through the Dracula story and the connection to Whitby. Using animated scenes, electronic special effects and live actors, it encapsulates everything that Bram Stoker's Dracula entails.
Bram Stoker got many of the characters based on Whitby actual names and put them into the story as well.
And it was true. As the day drew to a close, the Dracula story had one last surprise for us to find. Nestled in the foothills of Whitby. This is Crescent Avenue, once home to the Harker family, where Bram Stoker stayed during his time in Whitby. In his famous novel, he actually named the main character after the proprietor of the house. Who would have thought that this small fishing town in the north of Yorkshire could have had such an effect on the horror genre forever?